Friends, again I am here in front of you with continuation of the unit 2 of our Victorian age poetry. The last two poems I am going to discuss, written by Thomas Hardy, Channel Firing. The other one is Dead Man Walking. Let me discuss with you today these final two poems of Victorian period poetry. Briefly, I would like to revise this lecture on the poem Channel Firing. This poem, friends, was written in 1914 by Thomas Hardy. It has been often described as a prophetic and prophecies that was proved and paved the way to the outbreak of World War I by only a few months, which was predicted by Thomas Hardy. Superficially, maybe, the poem concerns unexpected fallout of war, its effects upon the dead. In fact, it is rather surprisingly told from the point of view of one of the deceased who, alongside his fellow dead, laments the noise and chaos of war and speculates upon whether humankind will ever be able to live more harmoniously. This poem definitely gives me memory of that Michael Max poem, A Small Pain in My Chest. This poem is also based on war. I remember that very well. In this poem, the tragedy or war brings only destruction. But Thomas Hardy's novels are very, very popular. Jules the Obscure. He is a novelist basically, but poet also. Channel Firing poem begins with the poet's description of the sound of great guns firing, which they claim shook all coffins as if it were Judgment Day. This brief stanza sets the scene for the rest of the poem and establishes several important things immediately, as the phrase "all our coffins" implies the poet is dead and speaking to the living and complaining about the sound of their weapons of war, which the poet takes as a sign of the end of the time. The dead man then sits up, nothing that the sound of the cannons of the naval had disturbed the local hounds mice, and even worms from their routines. In the next stanza, third stanza, God Himself makes an appearance in this poem. Responding to the poet's complaints about humanity, he explains that Judgment Day has not arrived yet, but that is merely gunnery and firing practice at sea that the dead can hear. He chastises the dead just as before you went below. The world is as it used to be. This exhausted, lamented humanity is as violent as it's always been, quickly becomes one of the poem's central theme. God goes on to describe how humans are striving strong to make war red to redder, an indictment not only of humanity's bloodthirstiness but also perhaps its ingenuity in pursuing war technologies. Almighty God, with biting humor, notes that humans do as little for the sake of Jesus Christ as the dead themselves. He then explains that some of the humans making such a rocket little realize how lucky they are that it is not yet the reckoning, because their violent nature have earned them a place in hell. He follows his own observation with sarcastic and sardonic, world-weary laugh. Ha, ha, ha. Assurance comes from Almighty God that the world is not yet ending. The awakened dead men lie back down in their graves. One of them openly wonders if the world will ever be a saner, wise place than when He, the God, sent us under in our indifferent century. Indifferent here seems to refer to both the callousness towards bloodshed that characterized the world of the dead men back when they realized they were not yet dead. They may undifferent, indicating again that humanity's warlike nature has been a sad constant throughout the ages. In this poem, a dead man called by name Parson, thirdly, laments and rews that he spent 40 years preaching, trying to better the humans. His implication is that since humanity is still as various as ever, his work was nothing. He grieves that he had not simply struck to pipes and beer and enjoyed himself instead. The poem then comes to end with the final stanza describing how the guns have gone off again and again, disturbed the hour with their readiness to avenge. Their roar of sound can be heard as far inland as Stourton Tower and Camelot and starlit Stonehenge. Stourton Tower was built to commemorate the end of England's 7 Years' War with France. Camelot was the legendary site of King Arthur's court, and Stonehenge is an ancient site dating to nearly the beginning of organized civilization in England, whose true meaning is debated to this day. The implication of mentioning these 3 sites in this poem from different points in history are very clear, as throughout the poem Thomas Hardy is depicting war as a never-changing aspect of human existence. Finally, Thomas Hardy makes his distaste and aversion for war, but also for the irony of its publication coming so soon before the start of World War I, but moreover that leads towards First World War. After the writing of this poem, Channel Firing stands out for its unique portrayal of Almighty God's wish. Friends, in continuation of this poem, I want to complete the another poem prescribed for our studies for paper 7 English, Dead Man Walking, again by same great writer, poet Thomas Hardy. In this poem, he beautifully described what is death. Death in life is one of the most common theme in his poetry. And it is easy to understand why death is contrast to life, the antithesis to any joy and pleasure sensation we can possibly know. To be dead inside is to take no sensation whatsoever from life. To have become numb to its joys and pains. In Thomas Hardy's poem, it is the result of many tragedies, gradual without any one sudden incident, until the narrator's once healthy enthusiasm and zest for life is reduced to no internal sensation whatsoever. The description of Hardy through this dead man walking is striking. He is a dead man, untombed, and merely a shape that stands here, a pulseless mold. It is beyond despondent. It is plain unfeeling. I think Hardy recognizes that if he created someone who felt agony, pain at the wrongs and tragedies they have experienced, he could not realistically claim them to be a dead man walking. Dead men don't feel, and someone feeling pain, ache, is much more alive than one who is nothing more than a shape that stands here. The poet used to say, the great singer, troubadour youth who rambled with life for lyre, a transient man seeking the great thrills of life, traveling with a song and a poem. The beats of life raged inside him like fire. It is a picture of brilliant youthful energy. I confess, I feel much like that. I want to continue to travel for a time after I leave Korea, because I am eager to explore more of the world, and I know I am certainly bringing some songs in my heart on the trip to share with others. The habits of transient troubadour were the first thing to slowly kill him internally. Through the more he knew of man, the icier his heart became. It sounds like the witnessed the great depths of cruelty which can live in the human heart. He stood bleakly, still able to feel, but gradually dying on the other side. The next great blow to his life was the hate and scorn of his love. His love's heart kindled in hate of him. He knows not why. He died with one more degree then, and presumably stopped keeping track. We were told that he cannot say exactly when it is that he became the corpse thing that he is today. Now, despite was walking, talking, and even smiling with a false mask, as he is dead. This poem definitely can say, scary to think that people can be so totally dead inside as to no longer feel any sadness, to be alive and unfeeling. It is so against the natural conditions that it is frightening in the life of the poet himself. Why these feelings, emotions, prophecies came to Thomas Hardy. Might be future. We don't know what the future is, but certainly something will happen. But have positive things in our mind. Poets feel why and where, how it all happens. What was written so many years ago, today also, many of us are walking just as dead, without feelings, emotions, actions. Living with what purpose? Generally, we used to ask somebody, hello, how are you? Oh, as usual, fine. The reply is so cool. At present situation makes everyone, yes, no, not knowing when the day comes with our number. Waiting for all something, hope everything will be all right. Hope only will make to boost our energy with confidence. Fantastic poems. Dead man walking. Certainly we should not become dead just walking, listening, talking. We have to live a fresh and living life, not dead walking. Nice talking to you, meeting to you, sharing my views with you all in this revision lecture. Friends and my dear students, Unit 3 I would like to discuss shortly. Just taking some notes and preparing on that. Shortly I will return to you with Unit 3. I will discuss Charles Dickens, David Copperfield, as well as the essays written by John Ruskin and John Newman. I'll meet you shortly. Thank you very much being with me, showing interest, spending your time. Hope to see you all. Looking forward to meeting sometime if God willing. Till then, goodbye. Be happy.